Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we're back with cartographer and author Isaac Dushku. Hey, Isaac, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back. And today I want to talk a little bit about maps, but in a little more detail. So let's talk first about scale. How large should the area being mapped typically be?
Well, I mean, if you look at, some of these high fantasy, it can be an entire world or a universe. Or if you look at Winnie the Pooh, it has 100-acre woods. So go as big or narrow as you want.
Right.
You could make it work with a 100-acre wood map, but you could do an entire universe. Just depends on how finely you can write the names and stuff.
Right. And how, I guess how, who your audience is and how big or small that world is in the story.
Yep.
And for features, what features should typically be included in a story map? Major cities, towns, villages, landmarks, natural forests, etc.
Yeah, so for sure, like if you're going, because everyone wants a map that looks pretty
Hmm.
and stuff, and if it fits within your vision, more mountains, the better. So people just go bananas for mountains. And so if you can, if you can fit in your city next to some mountains and stuff like that, and it doesn't disrupt your plot, then it's a good strategy. Also, volcanoes, people go bananas for volcanoes. And
That's
then
great.
fill in the gaps with forest. A map that has no physical features, is a little bit disappointing and a little bit boring.
And I don't know if this is getting too specific, but is it important to include smaller details like an individual building or path or a hidden location?
So super important. Maps are one of the things that you can look at and discover new things every time you look at it and stuff. There's really no other type of art that is subject to so much scrutiny. Like
Mm,
people will go back and take a look and trace it with their finger. And so any little detail you put in has a greater return on investment, maybe more so than any other type of art and stuff. So if you're thinking about adding an additional tree, but then you have a little like dude peeking behind the tree, like someone will see that and think that's incredible. So any little detail, any little building, any little nook and cranny and stuff that you add, uh, yeah, people love that. Everyone loves
wow.
that. That's great.
Yeah, the more the merrier. The more creative.
Yeah, yeah.
And in terms of accuracy, how accurate should a map be to fictional or real world geography?
So there's a lot of people that are super uptight about that. For example, like even on fantasy worlds that are completely unrelated to the natural world we live on, they'll be like, "Oh, you broke that rule with rivers. River doesn't fork or whatever." Um, and I've been subject to that. I've had people criticize me, and almost every single time I've been criticized for like, "Oh, that's not how rivers work." You can find an example in the United States or just around the world where that very specific exception is real. So
Wow.
a lot of people get all stressed about like, am I following cohesive rules of geography, plate tectonics and mountains and stuff. And for every concrete rule, there's like, oh yeah, I guess that is a thing in Wyoming that's like super peculiar that nobody can really explain, but it's not common everywhere else, right? Or, oh yeah, I guess the Amazon River does sort of split like that and go like that, but most rivers don't do that. So you can do whatever you want. I think you should have freedom to build your world. And if people like criticize it, then you use some magical justification for it and just say, hey,
Right.
magic or something.
Yeah, like did you check this magic system out? Because clearly you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
remember that
I
the
had
river
no idea.
flows the opposite direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Duh. And on that note, for historical fiction, how closely should the map adhere to the actual
Okay.
historical map?
That's a different story. So if you're doing something that's based on real world geography, you kind of have like a couple options. So you can lean super accurate and stuff, which won't be super attractive.
Mhm.
Like you've seen accurate maps and stuff, and it's mostly dotted lines and hard lines and stuff. Or you can lean artistic while still being somewhat geographically accurate and stuff. And just if you are leaning artistic, add certain flourishes that make it seem like, ah, yes, this is like, add like a beautiful compass rose, add like a beautiful like scroll that says the name of it. And then people, they let their guard down and they're like, okay, this is, historical fiction or historical novel or whatever. And then this is just a cool looking artistic map if you're going to go that route. If not, try to be as accurate as possible. But I don't really dabble too much in that.
Right. And in terms of style, how could an author know whether to make a map look modern or ancient?
So ancient, it seems to be always like a really safe bet. People really like the old wizard
Hmm.
handwriting, like the aged paper.
Hmm.
If you can pull off a modern map, I'd say go for it. But it's a pretty safe bet. Even if you were doing something futuristic, like a book, having some sort of old looking map, I don't know. I think that could be kind of cool. And people are like, wait, what the heck is this? It's some cyberpunk, yeah, cyberpunk book, but it's got some old map in the front. I lean towards do something old school.
Yeah, that's an interesting point where, if I was an author, how could I know what style would best fit the tone of the story? So mostly,
Mhm.
especially when there is fiction or magic systems, I could see it in a more ancient map working
Mhm.
as opposed to more of a modern map.
Yeah. Yeah. Modern will be much trickier for sure.
Well, Isaac, thank you so much. That was wonderful insight on map details.
Well, thank you.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's interview with cartographer and author Isaac Dushku. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.